muscle growth or muscle maintenance. One of those two or both, all of us want. I promise you, you may not even know that you want it, but I promise you, you do. Sustaining muscle is one of the major keys to not only active and productive life, but a long life for sure. But exactly, how do muscles grow? What exactly is happening? There's a scientific process actually that occurs in every human body as far as muscle development is concerned. But do you really know how muscles grow and the why behind it? Today on the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast.
Welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast with Garrett Williamson. Health, wellness, exercise, nutrition, and a whole lot more. Got questions? Call us and leave a message at 251-278-EDGE or message us at Personal Edge Fitness on Facebook and Instagram, at Team PE on Twitter, or personaledgefitness.com.
Good day and welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast. My name is Garrett Williamson. I'm president of Personal Edge Fitness. Thank you so much for joining us today for this podcast on muscle growth. And I'll tell you how to get in touch with the show if you're interested in asking any questions about this podcast or any others, or if you have any questions about dispelling the myths of health, fitness, and wellness, please reach out to us at area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also reach me at Garrett, Garrett, at personaledgefitness.com. Personaledgefitness.com, of course, is our website. You can contact us there. Contact us on Facebook at Personal Edge Fitness, which is where you may be seeing this podcast today. And also you can hit me up on X at Team PE if you are so inclined. This is a topic that I discuss on a pretty regular basis, especially with some in the consults, but a lot of times with current clients because they want to know, all right, why am I doing this? What is happening? How am I actually developing muscle and actually understanding that process? I kind of want to dive in the weeds a little bit and tell you the scientific process behind that. Now, I'm going to use some terms in here, but I'm going to simplify everything best I can. But as always, reach out to us if you have any questions. We'd love to answer them and hopefully dispel a few myths about muscle development, but also muscle maintenance. And that's something that we don't think about that often. I actually had a client a good 15 years ago. He'd been working out with us for a long time, and we were talking about his program. We were talking about several things that day, but we were sitting in my office talking about his program and what we were doing with it and the trainers that he was working with. And he somehow, I'm not sure how he led to this part of the conversation, but he was one of our senior clients. He was a gentleman in his late 70s, probably early 80s at that time. And he actually said, well, I'm not interested in building muscle. It kind of struck me funny. You're not interested in building muscle? He said, no, I just want to stay flexible. And I realized something there, and this is something that we're careful using certain words because of, not that there's anything wrong with the word itself, but it's the connotation. It's what people inherently believe when they hear the word. Like I've talked about this before on the podcast, when you hear the word diet, most people think diet means restriction. It doesn't. Diet, D-I-E-T, simply means how you eat. And Mahatma Gandhi, when he was doing his hunger strike, was on a diet. I mean, it was a diet of no food whatsoever. The most obese person you've ever met that overeats every single meal, that's a diet. It's an overeating diet. But most people believe that word means restriction. When I say the word build, many people think bulk. They think bigger, they think larger, whatever. Some people want to believe that, and a lot of people fear it. A lot of our female clients, no, I'm not interested in getting big. That's not what build means. Build does mean strengthen, and you can build something bigger, but you don't have to, by building muscle, it doesn't mean you're going to get bigger. What he was missing, and I realized that something I hadn't stressed quite often, is that if you ignore your muscle, if you don't use it, you lose it. And all you amateur kinesiologists out there know that. If you don't use it, you lose it. And if you ask most everybody about, well, what if you don't maintain your muscle? What happens to it? Well, you lose it, of course. Well, what if you just, hey, I'm strong enough. I like this. I just like to keep this forever. And, well, that's maintaining muscle. And you still have to do exercises, and there's certain properties that are certain systems that are going to occur in your body on a daily basis from the cradle to the grave to maintain muscle. When I say maintain in this part, your body first job is to keep the body moving. And so it's not going to expend any extra energy it doesn't need to. One of the things that requires energy to exist is muscle. Fat doesn't require energy to exist. Muscle does require energy to exist. And your body is doing a constant systems check. This is going on all the time. And it is looking at muscle that needs to be repaired. And it's looking at muscle that isn't being used. And so if it's not being used, and you can tell your body, well, I'm not doing that, but I want that muscle. It doesn't matter what you tell the body. If you're not using the muscle, the body's going to cannibalize it. It is going to eat it. It is going to use it. What is it? Why is it doing that? It is getting rid of a tissue that is not being used, that is requiring energy. And by cannibalizing that muscle, it's actually getting a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy in muscle. And so breaking down that tissue provides a lot of calories to keep the body moving. That's what atrophy is. And that's going to occur anytime you're not maintaining your muscle. Walking to the mailbox is part of an exercise that actually helps maintain muscle. But there's another side of it, and that is, what do you do once you leave the gym? What actually happens? What actually happens when you're not working out, or what happens in muscle development or muscle recovery? Now, forgive me, I'm actually going to read some of the notes here because I want to get some of these terms down, and please don't weigh too heavy on the terms. I'll break them down pretty easily. But I want to explain kind of the biochemical process of muscle growth. And some of you may be surprised at what you hear. In muscle growth, or what we know as hypertrophy, this occurs primarily through a process known as what they call muscle protein synthesis, because protein plays an extremely vital role in muscle development. Without protein, you cannot grow and or manage muscle. If you don't have protein, you will lose all your muscle, period. End of story. When you engage in resistance training such as weightlifting, you create these micro tears in the tissue. That's what we're doing. I've said that on other podcasts before. A physical therapist, a personal trainer, an exerciser, whatever, all we're doing, all of us are doing, is we're breaking down muscle. And that's it. Well, I'm not going to go to one of those people. I don't want to break down muscle. Well, if you're walking, you're breaking down muscle. You may not feel it, but anytime you use your muscle, you're getting tiny, microscopic sometimes muscle tears. The more you work out, the bigger the tears are. This is the reason you feel that burn when you're actually lifting a weight and you're in a rep number. I'm making up a number here, but you know what I mean. When you get to the higher reps of the weight, even if you're using a lower weight, doesn't matter. If you get the higher you get in the reps, you'll start to kind of feel a burn. And that is the body's reaction to tearing muscle fiber. It actually releases, when you tear fiber, it releases this acid called lactic acid. You've probably heard of that before. And that is the burn you feel. It actually burning your muscle, sending a chemical message to your brain, stop it, quit it. Because if you keep going, you're gonna rip this whole muscle, you're gonna tear the whole muscle. And so it's a self-preservation. That's how we know when you feel the burn. That's when you know to stop. And lactic acid dissipates within 25 to 30 seconds of that lift. A lot of people think that lactic acid stays in your system, stays in your body or whatever, and that's the soreness that you feel the next day. No, that's not lactic acid. Lactic acid is the burn that you feel. That's the chemical being released, and it dissipates 25 to 30 seconds. That's why you'll do an exercise, and you may exercise another muscle during that break period, but then you'll go back and exercise that same muscle again. And it's usually at least 25 to 30 seconds. That's what we use when we're doing a high-intensity interval training workout. We're using a 25 to 30 second rest between a lift just to get the lactic acid and for the ATP, which is called adenosine triphosphate, ATP to restore to the muscle. That's let's just call that's the gasoline for the muscle. You wait for that ATP to restore, then you do the lift again. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to continually break down muscle. Because when we break it down, what we've told the body is basically, your body thinks, well, the muscle's strong enough. And you're letting your body know, no, it's not. Wrong, do it again. And so then it goes into the repair process. Now, there are quite a few cells that are involved in muscle development and muscle maintenance. Key cells involved are what they refer to as satellite cells. They're specialized cells. They play a crucial role in muscle repair and growth upon activation by muscle damage. So as soon as you damage that muscle in a workout, they multiply and fuse muscle fibers, fuse with muscle fibers to aid in the repair process. There's also myocytes. These muscle cells grow and adapt in response to the stress that you've put on the muscle. And these increase in size and they increase in number. And those are the cells that are really key in muscle development. Now, there's a timeline. This is kind of interesting. This is what you may not have thought before about what is the timeline of muscle growth. Well, how fast does it start? How long does it take? What happens in those phases? And there's 3 different phases. There's an immediate phase, there's an early phase, and then there's a late phase of muscle repair. Right after a workout, the body begins to repair damaged muscle fibers, and this initial phase lasts 24 to 48 hours. And I mean, it begins immediately. It's sort of like go kick an ant bed, and the ants don't hang out till, we'll get to that later or whatever, on a coffee break. No, the ants immediately, you see them scatter. One thing, you've uncovered them. And the second thing, there you immediately start repairing that anthill. This is what your body's doing. It immediately starts to repair that muscle. This is why it's key, and I'll do a podcast about this later. You may have heard, that's a good time to take in some calories and take in some protein, and that's true. The repair receptors are highly activated at that time. Great time to feed it some quick protein, some easily digested, even pre-digested protein. There's a supplement that I use, and there's tons of them out there. Don't get me wrong. There's one that I'm a fan of called Frog Fuel. It's a liquid form of a quick protein shot, and the easier it is for the body to break it down, it's like having a big hamburger at that time. Not that I'm against that by any means, but if you really want rapid delivery of protein to repair receptors, use a pre-digested form, and something like a liquid type of protein is a good time. But that's what's going on in the immediate phase. It's 24 to 48 hours, and the repair starts. In the early phase, and that's within the first week, protein synthesis, basically taking that protein and using it to build muscle, the rates during that week after that workout are significantly elevated. They are on alert. Damage has happened, sort of like a hurricane hitting my hometown. All hands on deck. And not all hands on deck for 24 to 48 hours. All hands on deck for a large amount of time, definitely that first week. And then you got the late phase, and this is over weeks to even months. With consistent training and proper nutrition, muscles continue to grow and adapt. So let's say you started working out and you just for the first time did a really good chest workout or upper body workout, whatever, it doesn't matter. And your body's like, whoa, hang on a second, hurricane hit, this is new, this is different. Okay, we'll get in that immediate phase, 24, 48 hours, we're going to start doing the repair, that early phase, that week long. And if you continue to do that, your body's starting to adapt. Okay, look, this is going to be a regular thing. This damage thing happens as a regular thing. We got to lube all the machines and everything. Let's keep everything active. And so we can continue to keep up with the damage. In other words, we continue not only repair the damage, but make it stronger. Every time that your body's repairing this damage, it is trying to prevent it from happening again. And so that's how you're getting stronger. And so that's why as you get going, you start training, you're training on a good regimen, you're getting good rest. We'll get into that in a second. Good caloric intake, that's another thing, and also protein or whatever, and you're doing good workouts, then your body is going to get into this pattern of, okay, we need to make it stronger. Therefore, you start having to increase frequency, intensity, or time. One of those three things. Working out more often, frequency, the intensity, increasing the weight, increasing the reps, and then time. Maybe you just do the exact same thing, but you do everything for longer. So one of those three things you can increase, and as you get stronger, of course, you can increase those things, and that's why you feel that change, because your body is adapting to this new damage that you're doing to it. And it doesn't have to be, starting from nothing and then starting to work out. This occurs with regular exercisers. As you start to either increase your intensity, increasing your frequency, intensity, or time, or maybe you're at that, what we call your level of wellness. I'm working out as much as I want to work out. This is as intense as I want to go. I'm getting the results I want. I just want to live here the rest of my life. Okay, now you've gotten into a lifestyle, a pattern of that late phase, which may be with you forever. Kudos if it is. I hope so. That's really what we look for everybody. And get to that point, well, hey, this is perfect. I like this. This is great. I want this for the rest of my life. Then you'll stay in that constant late phase, and your body would just keep repairing the muscle, keep maintaining it, keep it right where you are until such time you want to change it and, of course, increase it or, maybe even decrease it. So let's get into proteins a little bit. This is something that I impress upon our clients quite a bit. Why? Because if you've heard me talk about in the podcast I did on the Fountain of Youth, I told you the keys of Fountain of Youth, the true Fountain of Youth, not just this is a neat thing to say and I'll get your attention because I use that phrase. No, the true Fountain of Youth is simple. So if you've paid attention to the last few podcasts, you've noticed that I've actually added one. They're simple. Water. How much? 100 ounces a day every single day of your life. Fitness, not just fitness, but regular resistance training on a regular basis to create that long phase recovery and make sure that maintains all your life. Number 3 is not vegetables. It's not carbohydrates. Not against either one of those. You need those. They're fantastic, whatever. It's protein. How much? Every meal, every day. What kind of proteins? Anything that comes from anything with a face. And as I've said before, if you're in a vegetarian type of diet, you need to make sure you're supplementing it because you're not getting all the amino acids. And the last that I added was rest. And we're going to talk about that in a minute also. But let's go back to those protein and amino acids. There's several different amino acids, but you've got ones that we use the abbreviation EAA. Those are essential amino acids. They can't be produced by the body. They must be obtained from your diet. They're key for muscle growth. They include enzymes like leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Those are collectively known as, you've heard of BCAAs, branch chain amino acids. You need those. You cannot grow muscle without them, period. And then leucine is particularly crucial because it directly stimulates the MPS, which is basically the growth hormone and what have you, acting like an ignition key to start the muscle building engine. So you've got leucine you have to have. You can't do without the others, but that one's extremely crucial. So caloric intake. This is something I talk about a lot. I've talked about caloric intake on weight loss and weight control and what have you. I've talked about metabolism. Metabolism is nothing more than calories in, calories out, period. It doesn't change because time changes on the calendar. It's calories in, calories out. And if you want to lose weight, you exercise or you move more, you expend more calories than you take in. If you want to maintain weight, you expend the same amount of calories that you take in. If you want to gain weight, you expend less calories than what you take in. It is that simple. But in order to maintain muscle, you've got to have enough calories on board. Doesn't matter how much protein you have. Doesn't matter how great the protein is. Doesn't matter if the timing's perfect. You're getting exact grams. It doesn't matter. If you don't have enough calories, your body is going to use every single one of those calories that you put in, not to maintain muscle. They're going to use it for energy to keep the body moving. Period. That's in everybody. I've heard a lot of people try to think that, I'm going to make my body do this. No, you're not. I promise you. You're an individual, just like everybody else. And so your body is going to expend that energy and use protein for energy if you don't have enough calories on board. And this is something I talk about a lot, and I mentioned it just a minute ago. I'm not trying to pick on vegetarians or a vegetarian diet by any means. Many people do it for many reasons, and not getting into that, not against it. But animal protein, sources like chicken, beef, fish, and dairy. Now, the easiest way to think about that is anything with a face. A fish has a face. A bird has a face. Cow has a face. Lamb has a face. So anything with a face, these are considered complete proteins. Now, what do I mean by complete proteins? It means they contain all of the essential amino acids in adequate amounts to build or maintain muscle. Anything with a face. Milk, it's a dairy product. Comes from a cow. Cow's got a face. Milk has, the protein you get out of milk has every single one of the amino acids you need to maintain muscle. Plant proteins, I'm not against them, but sources like beans, lentils, and grains, they're often, I say all the time, incomplete, meaning they lack one or more essential amino acids. And for vegetarians and vegans, if you want to do strictly plant and you don't even want to take a supplement in, then you got to get scientific about what you're doing. You've got to combine the right amount, the right combinations, and you can't just pick two. You got to do your research and find the right vegetables to put together and make sure you have those every single day, every meal every day, to make sure you're getting all the amino acids. That's why I say it's easier to do an animal-based protein. If you don't want to do that, it's easier just to supplement it. And you can supplement it. You can low-calorie supplement it. There's a lot of ways to supplement it. And there are some, excuse me, don't quote me on this. It's something I can help you research. But there are some plant-based supplements out there that have the amino acids that you need infused in that supplement. So if you want to stay strict vegan or whatever, then it is possible. So I like to back everything up that I do with studies, and this one, of course, is going to come from one of my favorite places to quote, the father of fitness, the whole reason I have a job, whole reason you exercise, Dr. Kenneth Cooper. Study conducted by Cooper Aerobics Research Center highlights that a diet rich in high-quality proteins significantly enhances muscle repair and growth compared to diets deficient in certain amino acids. Now, I just repeated what I just said, but I want to let you know I'm not the only one saying it, and I don't want to bore you with all the details of the study. If you're really interested in it, hey, 251-278-3343. I'd love to speak to you about it. Rest. The fourth thing I've added to the Fountain of Youth came from a podcast that I did with Dr. Paul Langevin. If you heard it, you heard him say it. And the osteopath that I've done several podcasts with, the rest and recovery, they're vital. These are vital for not only nutrition, exercise. They're as vital, if not more, than nutrition, exercise for muscle growth. Why? Simple. During sleep, the body releases a growth hormone, which is crucial for tissue growth. Other research from the University of California shows that individuals who sleep less than 6 hours per night have significantly lower rates of this growth hormone compared to those who sleep 7 to 9 hours a night. Now, this part right here is Garrett's opinion. I don't have facts to base this on, except for just basic research that I've done myself and understanding about a more efficient body. And an argument that I've had about, since we're doing so much study on recovery, I argue that a more efficient body possibly could need less sleep. Now, that's Garrett's opinion. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just telling you that's Garrett's opinion. I honestly believe, because we've made significant studies, done significant studies in rest and recovery, and made significant improvements on speeding recovery, that I argue with continued research, it may be possible to fully break down a muscle and then turn around the next day, maybe faster, and fully break it down again. And when I say break it down, you're breaking it down so it builds back, and we may be able to speed the process up so we can shorten that window of roughly 48 hours that you need to take a break. If you've broken down a chest muscle, for instance, then you don't do it again the next day. 48 hours later is when you do that again, if you want to do it, because it needs that much time to repair. I argue that we're going to increase that. But for right now, what we do know is that, according to the clinical studies they've done, those who sleep less than 6 hours per night significantly less growth hormone. Without the growth hormone, you're not going to grow muscle. There's a lot of growth hormone supplements or whatever, and I argue, and injections and drugs and whatever, and I argue that those people, if you look at their diet and you look at their rest, you look at their recovery, you look at their exercises or whatever, you may find why they are deficient. It doesn't have to do with time passing on a calendar. Definitely not. So this is why overtraining can lead to chronic fatigue and injury. This is something that I've run into a lot of times. I've saw a gentleman recently at another facility, and I'm trying to not be too invasive, but I kind of want to talk to him because, I really want to talk to him, but I don't want to insert myself while I'm not wanted. But he's there consistently. And when the times that I've worked out in that facility, I've seen him, never missed seeing him. He's going to be there. He's got his regimen down. I applaud him for that. But I noticed something because I happened to see him 2 days in a row, and he did the exact same exercises. He did the exact same exercises every single time that he worked out. And I noticed that he's wearing a wrap on every joint that he possibly can wear. And so I know what's happening with him. He is not allowing his body to recover. He's not allowing that rest time to recover. And I see this a lot in baby boomers because it seems to be because of the way they grew up, and I'm not criticizing them by any means. Thank God they were this way. Baby boomers and the greatest generation, when in doubt, work harder. When I was working with a Greatest Generation client one time as a physician, and he was getting back into training, we were working him out, and he kept telling me, I'll be most excited when I can come in, and I come in every single day, and I go to all these machines to do every single one of these machines. It took me the longest time to convince him, you need to take time off. You need to rest. You need to recover. And this is what I'm seeing in this gentleman, and I hope that I get a chance to talk to him and make his workouts more effective simply by take some time off and rest. And it doesn't mean you can't work out every day. I do. I have a rest day every single week, and sometimes it's hard to take that rest day. It doesn't work for my head, but it works for my body. And so if you do want to work out every day, hey, you can change up that routine. Give you a program where you can, if I got to do lift weights every single day. Fine. We can set that up and design it for you. Now, we have clients that do that. We have clients on our regular program, and whether they're working, we have clients that train with a trainer 5 days a week. We have clients that train 5 days a week, 7 days a week. And we design a program so that they can. That works best for their head. They feel they need to go check that box every day. I applaud them, and they have very effective programs. Doesn't mean it's more effective than somebody that does resistance training 3 days a week. It all depends on the program design. If we can help you with that, we'd love to have that opportunity. If I can answer any questions about this, please reach out to me at area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also contact me at Garrett, Garrett, at personaledgefitness.com. That's, of course, our website also, and our Facebook page. Hit me up on X at Team PE. It's actually very simple. I got into some scientific stuff. I can go deeper into it if you'd like me to. Don't want to bore anybody, but there is a science behind muscle growth. And working with not just a weekend certified personal trainer, but working with an exercise scientist, an exercise physiologist, kinesiologist, athletic trainer, sport medicine, somebody with a degree in understanding that is what is really going to help you develop muscle, maintain muscle, live longer, and hopefully reach your level of wellness. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope I see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast with Garrett Williamson. Subscribe now and be a part of the show by calling 251-278-EDGE or message us on Facebook and Instagram at Personal Edge Fitness or at Team PE on Twitter, and visit us at personaledgefitness.com.